Playbook with Fensty and Ronis, presented by FantasyAlarm.com.
At this point, as I sit here, I think since Friday, I made it clear that my intention was to play, and my intention was to play for the New York Jets.
Okay.
And I haven't been holding anything up at this point. It's been compensation that the Packers are trying to get for me and kind of digging their heels in.
The Playbook with Fensty and Ronis, presented by FantasyAlarm.com on Bettor Sports Network.
The Playbook is live here on Bettor Sports Network. Hello, everybody. My name is Justin Fensterman, along with Adam Ronis. Let's talk some sports here. Ron, how you doing?
Doing pretty good, man. Just a busy time of year. A lot going on right now.
1,000% indeed. Going to talk a lot of different sports with all of you, but what you just heard in the open was from earlier today on the Pat McAfee show, the anticipated Aaron Rodgers interview, and with him not saying, obviously, that everything is all settled up. Is he a Jet at this point? Not officially, but the intentions for Aaron Rodgers, from what he said, from what you just heard from the Pat McAfee show earlier today, he says that he intends to play for the Jets. Ron, I know it's a busy time for all of us, as you just mentioned. I don't know how much of the hour-long interview you caught featuring Aaron Rodgers, but in this, he said that, I guess, going into the darkness retreat, 90% retired, and then thought about it. And I was trying to ascertain whether he came out of the darkness retreat thinking he was potentially going to play, and it was more 50-50, or right after he got out of the darkness retreat, he sees his phone, he sees all this news about the Packers shopping him, and that motivated him to want to play. So that's the one thing I'm trying to still figure out. Outside of that, the Jets and the Packers just need to finish the deal, and Aaron Rodgers will be throwing footballs for the Jets, man. What did you take away from that interview?
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty clear that he is going to be a Jet, wants to be a Jet. Now it's just a matter of the Packers and the Jets agreeing on compensation to make it come to fruition.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you think that conversation that McAfee had with Rodgers took maybe some leverage away from the Jets? Like, what if another team comes in with a better offer all of a sudden? Would Rodgers then just retire and that's it?
Yeah, he can. I mean, does Rodgers want to play anywhere else? So,
right.
I mean, the Packers can wait it out, obviously, and just be like, okay, well, you have no other plans, so what are you going to do? Give us what we want. So it's an interesting stalemate here.
Yeah, it really is. I thought that if Aaron Rodgers was going to say anything, the Packers would have reported something first on a deal, and then he would have commented. But he commented anyway and saying, obviously, the deal still needs to be finalized. We're talking about a trade here. But Rodgers definitely admitting that Packers seem to want to move on to Jordan Love. I mean, look, the same thing happened to him. It happened to Brett Favre and him all those years ago. And coincidentally, who goes to the Jets there? Brett Favre the next season. So, yeah, that's what we're dealing with right now in the football world for all the drama with Aaron Rodgers, coupled with free agency too for the NFL. But that's the thing. When it comes to the official news, there's no official news that Aaron Rodgers is a Jets, just that he wants to play for the Jets. Did think it was funny how he called out Adam Schefter for asking him about it. Lose my number. And he's like, lose my number. Nice try, though. THO. And then Schefter putting it back out there. Rodgers saying, I'll share screen text as well, man. This is what it's come to at this point in sports media, Ron.
Yeah, definitely. I thought it was pretty funny, actually.
Nice try, though. That's amazing. So I guess the Diana Rossini report of Rodgers has these demands and this wish list, I mean, definitely magnified. I could see that. And yeah, I'm sure when the Jets say, oh, who did you like playing with in Green Bay that we can potentially get? Of course, he's going to mention his guys like he talked about in the interview. So I thought it was a very well done interview. I thought that with Pat McAfee, one of the things he does very well, I don't always tune in, but whenever I do, he makes guests feel comfortable. It's not your run-of-the-mill traditional sports show that we're trying to get the news tidbits and everything. He's just having a conversation, the cloud hanging over what he's going to do and everything. I just feel like that's a testament to Pat McAfee, Ron. I mean, this is a guy here who was on the field himself. Not everybody who's on the field and been on the field translates well on the broadcast front, especially when it comes to long-form sports talk. And I think Pat McAfee does a good job, kind of like us, of making our guests feel comfortable and or awkward.
That's the goal. Make them feel awkward. Put them in a spot that they're uncomfortable. See how they handle the pressure. That's what I like to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And I wonder how Dan Malin from fantasyalarm.com is going to handle the pressure of joining us with Matt Sells on the road. He's going to talk some NASCAR with us, some DFS, and some wagering as well. We're going to talk about the NBA slate, some more NFL news, and then give you a small preview of the Arizona Diamondbacks before we get into Pissed. Producing the program today, he's back, the People's Board Op, Jared Moore, hanging out with us, Roan. He's hanging out with all of us, all the Bettor fans, and the millions
and millions.
There we go, of Playbook P1s that are out there. Jared Moore, the prodigal son, has returned. Tony Rivers been hanging out with us as well. Anthony Rivera, he's also in the house. Adam Bernard is off for today. So before we talk about some of the other NFL free agency news that we've seen throughout the day, every day we get a few new angles, a few new storylines and signings to talk about, especially on the offensive end. We got to hit you up with the Playbook's first play of the day. Could be anything happening today, tonight, whenever. Roan, we'll start with you. What is your first play of the day?
D'Angelo Russell over 22.5 points. Anthony Davis is out tonight. We've seen Russell put up big numbers even with Davis on the floor and LeBron off. Now both are out. The last 3 games, he's taken 17, 19, and 15 shots from the floor. Scored 28, 33, only had 17 last night, shot 5 of 15. But great matchup here against Houston. They allow the most points per game to the point guard position. Lakers slight favorites on the road. I mean, Russell's probably going to take 20 shots tonight, so he should go over this number.
I like that. Makes total sense. Still no LeBron James and no Anthony Davis for tonight. I am going to actually go with Draymond Green. His over on his points, I saw it on DraftKings at 8.5 in 3 previous matchups against the Clippers soft centers. He's gone over 8.5 points every single time. Doesn't always shoot a lot of shots, but it's taken at least 7 in 4 of his last 5 games. Now, he hasn't gone over this in a couple of games, but that's a matchup against the Bucks and the Suns. Now you're putting him up against the poor low block centers on the Los Angeles Clippers. Like I said, he's done this before. He hit 9 one of the matchups, and then he went double figures in points in 2 previous matchups. Before that, I'm going to go with Draymond Green over the 8.5 points. I saw it at minus 125 on DraftKings Sportsbook tonight. So those are the plays of the day. Sticking with the West Coast, rolling with the D'Angelo Russell points. Me, Draymond Green points. So let's win some money tonight. Speaking of money, Roan, let's talk a little bit about some of these signings, because I was convinced that Juju Smith-Schuster was going to be sticking with the Kansas City Chiefs, especially with the fact they didn't want to retain Mecole Hardman. But instead, Juju, 3-year, $33 million with the New England Patriots, man. I was a bit surprised he's not still with KC.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they didn't want to pay him. I mean, we saw last year they only gave him a 1-year deal. I mean, Juju just hasn't been that good, man. I mean, to play with Patrick Mahomes, and he was okay. He wasn't great. So I don't see how he has a big fantasy season in New England.
Yeah, I mean, not that interested from the fantasy side of it. Another 3-year deal. Hayden Hurst, a 3-year, $21 million deal with the Carolina Panthers there. And with that, man, just looking to see these Bengals players just leaving the team. But now he signs and he's getting paid there. So the Panthers now have a tight end that they can rely on. We'll have to see what else happens with them from the QB front. And also Baker Mayfield, we saw a 1-year over $8 million deal with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I mean, at this point, Rode, is this their guy? Are they really going to go into the year with Baker Mayfield there, bro? Come on.
Yeah, I mean, I know he showed glimpses with the Rams, but overall he wasn't good. So not looking good for Tampa if this is what they're going to do.
No, not at all. Jacoby Brissett, talking with a few Commanders fans. I'm in the D.C., Maryland, Virginia area. He signs a 1-year deal with the Commanders. And Commanders fans are actually very happy about this. Talking to a few of them, a little bit upset that they weren't more involved in Aaron Rodgers. Thought maybe there was a connection a couple of weeks ago with Lamar Jackson, but since then it's been refuted. So at that point, man, what we talked about weeks ago, them wanting to stick with Sam Howell. Now they have Brissett along with Howell. So we'll have to see what Riverboat Ronnie does with the quarterback position there. Now I got to ask you about this, man, because we're talking about a 7-year relationship, not your dating history, but your fandom here. Cowboys and Ezekiel Elliott, man, they are going to release him. When you saw that as a Cowboys fan, then we could talk about the fantasy ramifications and potential impact where he could go. But just as a Cowboys fan, man, were you heartbroken losing this guy?
No, I mean, yeah, he had some good years. He was a good running back, but just not the same player anymore. And a lot of money that he ties up. So, yeah, I mean, he wasn't the same player. Pollard was better. I kept saying you had to have Pollard on the field in the postseason. Zeke still, I don't think he's completely done, but he's not a workhorse back anymore. He's not a feature back. Could be a good goal line back. So, no, I'm not upset.
Cowboys Nation. You talk about Aikman. You talk about Emmitt Smith, Michael Irvin, to an extent, Tony Romo as well. Is Zeke beloved by Cowboys fans when all is said and done? Will he go down? You think he goes down as one of the names to remember all time with one of the most beloved franchises in sports in this country?
Why wouldn't he?
Just wondering what you thought, because, I mean, look, we're talking 6-7 years. We're talking about no championships. I mean, is he the best?
Running back, you can't look at a running back and talk championships.
Right, but it's not the position. It's just the player in general. If they're attached to a championship team, I feel like they're more remembered players like that were on those title teams because of the title, not necessarily the running back position.
Yeah, I mean, he had big years, man. I mean, he was pretty dominant when he was on the field outside of like last year. So he's a guy that, had a big workload in college, big workload in the NFL. And yeah, he's only 27. He'll turn 28 in July, but you could just see it. It's not the same player. I mean, 3.8 yards per carry this past year, the lowest of his career.
He got saved by those touchdowns when it came to fantasy. I'll tell you that much there. Who was running the ball before him? Was it Marion Barber, or that goes back way too long? I don't even remember who was running the ball in Dallas before Zeke came along.
Yeah, I think it was Barber.
Yeah. He had himself, a good 2-year run? Oh, yeah. DeMarco Murray. Good call right there, guys. Good call to our producers, Jared and Anthony. DeMarco Murray, definitely. It had to have been DeMarco Murray.
Yeah, it was Barber then Murray.
Yes. We did a bit. I'll never forget this when Ronas was on Sirius XM. Ronas and I never really joined forces to do shows unless he filled in on the random fantasy baseball shows. But there was one time where it was a critical week. I want to say it was week 15 or 16. So we're talking fantasy playoffs. DeMarco Murray had broken his hand, and he wasn't simply ruled out. Throughout the week, the story gained momentum that he was gonna try to wrap it up and play with said broken hand in a very critical week. I think it was semifinal week for fantasy. And you guys on your show brought me on as his hand and asked for my reaction, how I was feeling, where my hand has been, which I'm sure you loved asking me about. But still, man, you remember that bit? It was a lot of fun. It was about, I want to say, man, it must be at least 7 years ago at this point.
Yeah. Was I on that show, though?
You were on that show. You were, because I still have the interview.
Okay.
That was that. Yes. Meaning you clearly don't remember me coming up.
I don't remember it vividly. I know we did it, but I don't know. I don't remember being there.
Let me ask you this. If I sent you that interview, would you even spend time listening to it, or would that email never be touched?
It might be open. There's a 50-50 chance.
At least you're honest with me. At least you don't lie, right?
I don't. No, I don't lie.
I appreciate that, Roan, because I could send it to you, but I know, 50% that you're not going to check it out. Right?
Maybe 60-40 I will.
Yeah, it was a funny interview. It's 7 minutes of your life. You can listen to it while prepping, but it was a lot of fun. It was a great bit. Corey Parson kind of put it together. Corey was great working with Ronas back in the mornings on Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio. Other news that we've seen from today, Justice Hill back to the Ravens. Then we saw Myles Gaskin back with the Dolphins. Travis Homer going to the Bears, adding to that. And then we saw this last night. We get to talk about it because it broke after we were off the air. But what were your thoughts on David Montgomery going to Detroit?
I don't know why they did it. Swift is still there. I mean, it's obviously bad for Swift, but I think it's pretty clear that the Lions just don't think Swift is a feature back. So forget about the RB1 for Swift. He's going behind a good offensive line. We just saw Jamal Williams have a big year there with 17 touchdowns. So Williams was an RB1. I don't think you could expect that with Montgomery, but it's a pretty good spot for him. And then I think on the other side, obviously it's very good for Khalil Herbert right now. We'll see if they use him more in passing downs. But he was very good when he got the touches. We'll see also if they bring in someone else. I mean, they brought in Travis Homer, but I don't think that's
he doesn't move the needle.
Yeah, significant. So clearly the DeAndre Swift breakout's not happening.
That's it. Everybody wants it so badly, but nah.
He's so dynamic, but I guess they clearly don't think he could stay healthy by getting more touches.
I think that part of the problem was last year with Swift. They brought him back too early. We saw this with a few players. Keenan Allen comes to mind as well. And again, I don't know what the process is about returning from injury, but it just seemed like Swift wasn't 100% healthy when they brought him back, and they limited, I believe, his usage in that first week, maybe even two back. And whenever that happens, to me, that screams, well, players shouldn't be on the field if you're limiting him that much. Maybe he should get another week off to heal up. So when we saw that, when we saw that happening during the season, that just made me scratch my hairless head, just saying, when it comes to that. Arizona Diamondbacks. Let's talk about them for a few minutes, Rome, because I don't know how much there is to really talk about them from a reality standpoint. Plus,
I disagree.
From a reality standpoint, you think?
I think this team is better than people think.
So let's talk about some odds then. Plus 4,500 to win the NL.
I never said they're winning the National League.
All right. I said understood. I'm not saying you said that, but I'm just reading the odds here. So plus 4,500 to win the NL West, plus 7,000 to win the National League, and plus 16 grand to win the World Series. And this is where what you're saying makes things interesting, because their wins total at 74.5, minus 120 on the over, plus 100 on the under. I mean, they've got a good amount of young talent. They locked up Carroll, which was very smart of them to lock him up to an 8-year extension. But outside of that, Lourdes Gurriel they got in the offseason, Longoria, Diego Castillo, Moreno. I mean, what you're seeing this team overall, what are your expectations?
I think they're a good young team that's on the rise, and I could see them going over the win total. They have some pitching concerns, but they have a lot of good young arms. Obviously, a lot of people are excited for Corbin Carroll. I think he's a little overpriced in fantasy right now at this point. I do think the speed's going to be there. Ketel Marte could have a bounce back year, especially if he's going to hit second, but I just don't think the career year we saw a few years ago is coming back. Jake McCarthy is a guy that showed some good speed last year. I like Christian Walker. I feel like first base is a position where you can wait on it, and there's some good options in the middle rounds, and Christian Walker is one of them. Last year, the average wasn't good, but the power was there, and a lot of the underlying metrics showed that he had some bad luck. So I'm definitely open to taking Walker, and you might be even able to get him, especially in the 12-team league, as your corner infielder. But he was really good last year. The power's legit. The strikeout rate went down. The walk rate went up. And he wound up hitting 242. There was low 200s for a good portion of the year, but I think that could bounce back. He had 36 homers, 94 ribbies, 84 runs. Should hit cleanup. So like him, I think Lourdes Gurriel could bounce back. He had a wrist issue last year that sapped his power. Gabriel Moreno is a good number 2 catcher. I think Josh Rojas could lose some playing time, so I'm a little worried about him. I mean, he's mostly a speed guy anyway. But, this team has a lot of talent. Zach Gallen's, we saw a ridiculous stretch he had last year. We don't know who's closing.
I was about to ask you that if there was someone.
There's no one. I mean, they got like 75 guys listed. I think it could be Miguel Castro or Scott Magoo. who came over. Was it Japan or Korea? But I've heard him mention. We obviously see Miguel Castro pitch with the Mets. He has a good slider. He's pitched in New York. I don't think it's going to be Mark Melancon. I think they might try and have him start because they want to trade him. But I mean, he's had a horrendous spring. So yeah, I mean, right now there's no one really to take. They brought in Andrew Chafin, who was really good. I kind of wanted the Mets to get him. And they do have another lefty in there, and Joe Mantiply, who I believe was their only All-Star last year. So I thought maybe Chafin would get a shot, but it doesn't seem like it. They have Kevin Ginkel. So they got a lot of arms. And then they got Brandon Pfaadt, a guy to keep an eye on. I don't know if he's going to make the team to begin the year, but he's a guy that could be up. Dre Jameson, another young arm, Ryan Nelson. So they got some good young arms that you'll see up. So yeah, I think this team's pretty interesting because the Rockies aren't good. The Giants are mediocre. Obviously, the Padres and Dodgers are very good, but I think this Diamondbacks team is on the rise and can surprise people.
Is Jameson locked into their rotation?
No.
He's not. Okay, I was wondering about him. I know that he had a few starts towards the end, and he actually did very well, but wasn't sure if he was going to be locked in or not. So interesting when it comes to their bullpen, but you just talked about some of the players there. Gurriel, by the way, didn't have that power, but definitely hit well for average with what he did at the plate. 291, very good there. And with the stolen bases, you had McCarthy with 23 last year. Rojas, who you said you're worried a little bit about playing time with him. Just so we could give you guys some context regarding where some of these players are going. You mentioned Ron Corbin Carroll, a little pricey in NFBC leagues over the last 15 days, going as a top 60 pick inside the top 60. Zach Gallen going inside the top 80. And then afterwards, you got McCarthy going right outside the top 100. You mentioned Moreno. He's around the 200 to 220. Same with Rojas, Gurriel right there as well. And outside of that, man, I mean, Jake McCarthy, what are your expectations for him? Have you taken him anywhere yet?
I have not. I picked him up in Fab last year in multiple leagues. I think the speed's going to be there. I mean, if he hits third, it's a good spot to hit in. I just don't know. I don't think we're going to get a lot of power. I know he had 8 homers in 99 games, but he might only be a guy that can get you 15 home runs. I think that's going to be the key for his value. He's a heavy ground ball hitter. So I think the speed should be there. So you're going to get stolen bases from him. He had 23 last year, 99 games. So you would think you could get 25 to 30 if he gets the full playing time. I don't know how much power we're going to get out of him.
We'll have to wait and see there. So with you, thinking the team would be a little bit better, 74.5 wins at minus 120 on the over. Is that a future that you would bet?
I would consider it, yeah.
Nice. I mean, yeah, minus 120. A lot of times we've seen it pretty even or the under a little bit favored with teams as of late. So when I saw that today, definitely opened my eyes a little bit more, especially with what the wagering world is thinking about. Program note, once again, and for the rest of the week, and I'll keep reminding you that when it comes to the playbook, we're normally on until 7 p.m. Eastern. However, tonight and for the rest of the week, we're going to be ending a little bit early today, kind of like yesterday. We're out of here at about 6:40 p.m. Eastern. Why is that? Because at that time, you can watch live NCAA tournament action and compete in our real-time Q&A contest on the Bettor Sports Network app. It's Fairleigh Dickinson versus Texas Southern in the first 4 matchups on BettorCast. Watch, play, and win prizes by answering predictive questions about the game while having fun chatting with our community in real time. Join us for BettorCast in the Bettor Sports Network app tonight starting at 6:40 p.m. Eastern. The Playbook Tour Junkies will air on bettorsports.com, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and Twitch at Bettor Network. Bettor Sports Live will be after us this evening. Rick Kamla going to stop by to talk about the state of the NBA. Want to definitely get his take about the Memphis Grizzlies. For now, it seems we have a roadmap to Ja Morant returning to action here. Suspended 8 games, and not from now. The games he's missed as well included in that suspension by the NBA. We were told this today, should be good to go and ready to go within the next week here. We'll have to see, though, if Memphis has other ideas as they're trying to hang on to their top 3 spot in the Western Conference. For now, the Wednesday rite of passage, it's time to get a little pissed. I got some things I'm pissed about. I'm sure the Roan man does. The people's board op, Jared Moore and Tony Rivers as well. Gonna play along. Happy to be with all of you on the Playbook on Bettor Sports Network.
The Playbook with Fensty and Ronis, presented by FantasyAlarm.com. Moose and Keith, weekdays at 10 a.m. Eastern on Bettor Sports Network.
Calvin Ridley yesterday, he applied for reinstatement from the National Football League.
Ridley, Kirk, Zay Jones, Travis Etienne, Trevor Lawrence. That is crazy potent on offense.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. I mean, Ridley's great.
I think Trevor Lawrence is a guy I want in fantasy this year.
I think you're probably right. I think they're just going to get better and better. First off, Peterson's a wonderful offensive mind, a great head coach, and we've seen that and saw that this year as Jacksonville made it to the postseason. And Trevor Lawrence, anybody that questioned whether or not he could play in the National Football League or just how good he was going to be in the NFL, those questions were answered this past season as in the second half of the year. Statistically speaking, he was a top 3 quarterback in the NFL. That's how good Trevor Lawrence is. You throw Calvin Ridley into the mix, he's going to be great. Yeah, I think Lawrence is a guy you want. I think Ridley's a guy you want. Clearly, Travis Etienne is going to be one of those early, first-round selections as well, being the dual-threat running back that he is, not only running, but also catching the ball out of the backfield, Keith, and the ability to take something small and take it to the house. Take a 5-yard dump pass, make a guy miss in the open field, and he's gone. I mean, you saw that with Travis Etienne this past season for Jacksonville. Yeah, sky's the limit. I mean, I think you're going to go from a team in the year span where you wanted no part of the Jacksonville Jaguars when you're looking at fantasy football to where you want as many Jaguars as you possibly can because they're going to be really, really productive. And let's see if they get their tight end back as well, who had
Evan Ingram was great.
And Evan Ingram, who was great this past season.
Yeah. I mean, if they keep that whole core together, their offense is going to be one of the best in football. Like, I legitimately think that they could be one of the best offenses in football.
Zay Jones, Evan Ingram, Christian Kirk, then
and Ridley,
Travis Etienne, Trevor Lawrence, a good offensive line, and you've got Doug Peterson being creative calling.
Right?
And you look at that division. The Colts are a mess.
Yep.
Titans
look like they're on the downslide.
Titans are on the downslide, right? That window is clearly closed. And then you got the Houston Texans.
Years away from relevancy.
Yeah.
I mean, Jacksonville could win 11 games next year.
Moose and Keith, weekdays at 10 a.m. Eastern on Bettor Sports Network.
I'm not mad. No! I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
You see, whenever I get angry, I just recite this little poem, calms me down. 3, 2, 1. 1, 2, 3. What the heck is bothering me?
You know, that really grinds my gears.
I'm feeling very angry about that. I'm enraged. You know what I do when I'm mad, Paul? I hit a pillow. Just hit the pillow. See how you feel. Feel better?
Yeah, I do.
The Playbook with Fensty and Ronis, presented by FantasyAlarm.com.
You might think that everything when you work in sports is so grand, so great. How can these guys have a bad day? Please, all they don't do any work. They talk sports for 2 hours, and that's it. No other work attached. These guys are some of the luckiest SOBs out there. How the hell do they have bad days? Well, guess what? Even being in the sports world, you get bad days too at times. That is why we have this segment in the middle of our week. Every single week, it is Pissed here on the Playbook. On deck, Rick Kamla, Bettor Sports Live, up right after us. Rick Kamla, Lisa Ann will be hosting and on bettorsports.com. So you'll have your choice there. Bettorcast, Lisa Ann and Rick, or both. That's what's awesome. Bettorsports.com is where you'll find Bettor Sports Live. But Roan, another week, another Wednesday, man. What's pissing you off this week besides having to share a room with me for a night or two in the next 48 hours?
That was it. So you can go first.
That's all that's pissing you off these days?
That was the main thing. You figured it out. I didn't know how you were going to get that so easily.
Wow. I'm starting to think that was actually your...
No, it wasn't. It feels like you have a little bit more rage than me today, so I'll let you go.
No, I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm actually like in a nice, calm mood. The last couple of days, not so much. Today, I'm like feeling good though. I'm feeling chill.
Why? Why are you feeling good today?
I don't know why, actually. Just today I'm feeling good. Not no pressure at this point here. Got some situations figured out that I need to get figured out there. Trying to stay ahead of the game. So feeling good on this show. We'll see if I feel the same way come an hour from now. But I'll talk about first what I'm pissed off about. And this is just someone who at Dunkin' Donuts, this guy, and I think I've mentioned this before. What's so funny?
just like, this guy at Dunkin' Donuts. It's just funny.
Well, I mean, would it be? It's funny you're laughing because there's this guy at Dunkin' Donuts that when I'm placing my order, he does nothing but laugh at me.
Really? Well, he must be like my twin or something.
Well, here's the interesting thing, though. I dug into this a little bit because there are a few times. Let me ask, what's that?
Does he flirt with you?
No, he does not flirt with me. And I mean, look, if he did, that's one thing, but he's not flirting with me. He's, as I'm placing my order, he's laughing, kind of like what you're doing right now, just laughing at me for no reason. I could take a joke, but just tell me what the punchline is. Tell me what's funny. Do I have something on my face? So this started about 2-3 months ago.
So every time you walk in, he starts laughing as you walk up.
So he is a weekend worker. So only when I go there on the weekends.
Now you hate weekend workers. First you hate Jared Moore. Now
I am a weekend worker. What are you talking about?
Barely, please. You barely.
I do shows on the weekend.
Not every weekend.
Yes, I do shows every weekend. Not.
Now that wasn't the case before.
Okay, so for the last few months now, I mean, for the most part during the year, I'm doing shows on the weekends. So yeah, maybe about 5 or 6 weeks. C-Road, now I am mad.
Good.
Stop.
That's what I was trying to do. So you're bashing weekend workers.
I'm not bashing weekend workers. I'm bashing this guy who does nothing. He does nothing but laugh at me when I'm placing my order. And I found out because I talked to another coworker, he laughs at everyone and it pisses off customers. And when asked why he doesn't have an answer. He just doesn't. Is it like a nervous tick or something like that? I don't know, but there's no reason why he does it, and he does it to other customers and has complained. Customers have complained to the manager about this guy before. You know why he's not getting fired, though? He's the owner's son. That's the thing. That's what I go to find out. So for no reason, this guy, would you want to drink a coffee if some stranger while you're ordering is laughing at you? No, you think they're going to mess with your coffee. Who knows if they can put in your coffee? You wouldn't know the difference. It makes me uncomfortable.
Not only are you trying to get a hard worker like Jared Moore fired, now you're going to go and take the minimum wage workers at Dunkin' Donuts and try to get them canned. Damn, you are just a bad human being.
When they're being disrespectful to the customer, when you're disrespectful to the customer.
You're ordering a coffee. Just take it and deal with the laughter.
Because I don't know if they're messing with me. What happens? This is a pre-show coffee. What happens if he is messing with me and all of a sudden I can't do the show? Then you wouldn't be laughing.
Now you're setting up excuses to miss shows. My goodness, you're digging yourself a deeper hole here.
No, you're just trying to be funny. You're trying to be Mr. Funny Boy over here.
I'm interpreting what you're saying.
And you're clearly not good at that.
I'm very good at seeing the underlying messages that are being sent out. And I see what you're doing here.
See, that's your problem.
No, that's your problem.
No, that's your problem. No. You don't take things at face value ever.
No, I don't. You can't trust human beings. You can't take anything at face value. You think people tell the truth nowadays? Come on.
Yes, they do. No, they okay? Come on. All right. What are you pissed about?
I'm pissed at you for trying to get this hardworking man from Dunkin' Donuts fired.
That's Ronus's code of saying he doesn't have anything he's pissed off about.
All right, I'm pissed off about traffic, okay? It's just like I just want like an overhead, and you usually see like traffic starts from people just being dumb and they can't drive. Most of the time it's rubbernecking or someone going slow in the left lane. I get it. New York, New Jersey, California, it's crowded, but come on, man. A lot of times you see with the traffic, a lot of times you're driving on the expressway and you're like, okay, why is there traffic? And then there's no accident, there's nothing. And all of a sudden it frees up ahead. And it's like, what the hell is going on? Because people can't drive.
You ever go in the HOV lane, even though mostly you're solo?
Well, if I have a mannequin, yes.
If you have a mannequin, I love that. You probably have one hanging in your trunk right now.
No, I don't have
moves on that mannequin.
I've never had a sex doll. I am intrigued, but I've never had one.
They don't see. I don't understand why. We don't have to go into this.
You don't understand why what?
Why do they exist? Why?
I mean, there are some people that don't get.
I understand. So that makes it better. That's satisfying.
I don't know. I mean, ask them. Ask
someone who's experienced.
What?
You have one in your trunk. That's
no, I don't.
Okay, that's what I thought you just said. See what happens
no,
when
I said. I mean,
underlying messages.
If I had a mannequin, then sure, you could put it in the passenger seat. I'm sure. I think people have gotten caught doing that.
Yeah, of course they have. This sick world out here. Jared Moore, it's been a minute. What's going on? Welcome back to the show. And what are you pissed about?
Well, thank you for having me back. Now, there's nothing worse than being falsely accused of something you didn't do. So I'm sitting late last week. I'm sitting, on the couch, just watching TV, minding my own business. And I get a text from someone who should remain nameless that says, "Hey, in case you hear, I falsely accused you of something and you weren't on the Better Zone show. And for that, I am sorry." I don't know who possibly sent this text, but
it was me.
I wasn't very happy with it. So I simply responded, "You son of a bitch." USOB. And I guess he wasn't very happy with this response either, because then I get a whole Twitter, a little text tirade of other stuff that I'm being accused of being responsible for, such as, Ronas, did you know it's my fault that Fency's bald?
I didn't know that.
Really? Wait a minute. Okay, see, that's where the lies start to pop up here, okay? Because I never blamed Jared why I'm bald.
Oh, I have a whole list here of all stuff that Fency just in confidant, but I'm just gonna air out dirty laundry right now. Like it's my fault that Fency doesn't have the complete Met broadcaster bobblehead set. I didn't know that.
Actually, I do right now, so sorry, I do have it now.
Oh, you do? Well, yes. Ronas. Apparently, it's my fault that Mark Sanchez ran into Brandon Moore's ass and the fumble, the butt fumble. That's my fault. It happened.
I can see that.
Yeah.
See? I can see being accused of it because I know who the source is. That's what I meant.
It's my fault that Elon Musk ruined Twitter. I had no idea. It's my fault that McDonald's doesn't serve breakfast after 10:30 in the morning.
Wait, I thought they do.
Oh, whenever they cut it off.
He's floating Big Daddy. You ever see that, Roan?
Yeah, I did, but I don't. You know me. I don't remember.
I know that.
You remember lines of every damn movie.
I know. That's why it's fun asking you. Anything else that you've been blamed for, Jared? That
you
really
can't use that line anymore because doesn't McDonald's serve breakfast like all day?
I don't go to
McDonald's. I think they do.
No,
I don't either, but I'm pretty sure they serve breakfast now all day.
As they should.
Yeah, they should.
Yes.
I think breakfast should be served all day everywhere.
Well, look, even though it happened 55 years before I was born, apparently it's my fault the stock market crashed in 1929. I had no idea. I had nothing to do with that. Yeah, so there was that. It's my fault that Luis Castillo dropped the pop-up against the Yankees.
That is your fault, actually.
I was very pleased in the newsroom when that happened.
I bet you were. I was in the other newsroom sitting there throwing things. Oh, I probably shouldn't have just said that out.
It's my fault.
It doesn't matter. Jared Moore will take the blame for whatever
That's
you
nice
broke.
of him to do.
It's my fault that the Knicks haven't won a title since '73. And last but not least, it's my fault that the guy from Dunkin' Donuts laughs at that.
I think you probably told him to.
Wow.
I actually paid him off, apparently.
So, see, Ronas thinks that a lot of this is Jared Moore's fault. Meanwhile, the only thing that I falsely accused Jared of was playing that sounder after Ronas didn't hit that Bellinger prop that one time. Which, Jared, now that you're on, again, man, I don't like falsely accusing people of things, so I apologize.
Yeah, okay. Now he apologizes after this segment? No, because I think you're such a fraud.
No, I'm not. I apologized to him on the air last week. Now he
wasn't here.
I know that, but now in person, I did. I texted him an apology, and Jared, I am sorry about falsely accusing.
He's laughing as he's saying it. That's not an apology. This is like Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Jared,
as much enthusiasm and sincerity as in the office when Dwight makes his statement of regret.
No,
and he literally just says, "I state my regret." that's how sincere that apology was.
All right, so let me do this again.
Oh, and now he's got to act.
No. If you have to do it again, you don't mean it. It's fine. Let's just move on.
See,
I don't
all
want
right, fine.
We know your true feelings. It's okay. Just like be real and admit it. It's okay. You hate the guy.
I'm not real. I am real. No, you're setting up a false narrative there.
I am not.
You're a troublemaker.
I'm setting it up.
You are setting it up.
You have depicted how you felt for weeks.
No, I haven't.
You blame him when he's not even here.
I know. See, I was one time, and Jared, I am sorry for that. Tony Rivers, I'm sorry
I'm just sitting on my couch and I'm catching strays. What the hell?
I know, man.
That one I will take responsibility.
Oh yeah,
for.
One thing.
But it's my fault. I take accusation. I take blame, and I took the blame. Tony Rivers, what about you? What are you pissed at me about?
I don't even know how I'm able to top this. That's probably what I'm pissed about. How am I supposed to come up after this and try to come up with something that I'm angry about after this great performance here?
It's okay. You don't have to if you don't want to. Is there anything in this world that's pissing you off at all?
I guess in the line of what Ronis was saying with cars, anytime someone passes by or speeds by you and you try to look to see who the person is or cuts you off and they have tinted windows, you can't even see who the person is, you can't even flip them off. That pisses me off.
So you can't flip them off. There you go. Anthony Rivera, Tony Rivers on pissed, all of us on pissed, but mainly a pissed at yours truly right here. Let's get with Rick Campbell. He's going to be hosting Bettor Sports Live with Lisa Ann on bettorsports.com tonight, right after we are done. We got to talk about the state of the NBA. And does Rick Campbell believe in the Memphis Grizzlies even when Ja Morant returns? Or they're going to be one and done? Are they in trouble? We'll find out from Rick Campbell himself on the Playbook on Bettor Sports Network.
The Playbook with Fensty and Ronis. The Playbook with Fensty and Ronis, presented by FantasyAlarm.com. Weekdays at 5 Eastern.
People are always very critical when it comes to fantasy baseball. I would say this, and I'm a big fantasy basketball guy. I love fantasy football. There's no fantasy sport that's even close to being as hard as baseball. The season, having to figure out, especially if you're playing weekly, which I don't like to play. Weekly with the 2 starts, having to look at the schedule and everything. Well, I mean, you play in basketball as well. There's no fantasy sport that's harder or more involved than baseball. It takes forever. You take a whole night to do your fab on Sundays.
Yeah, baseball is the most challenging, and I think that's why the popularity has gone down. People don't want to work. They don't want to put in the time. There's a lot of strategy that goes into it. You have to know the player pool. That's why I love doing these 15-team, 50-round drafts. I mean, 750, 800 players. You lower all the minor leaguers. I took Spencer Strider last year in my first draft Champions League in round 40, and that turned out to be a phenomenal pick. So it puts you on to knowing everything about every team. And yeah, it's a lot of work. So I definitely think that it's a challenge, and I just feel like people don't want to put in time and work anymore. And I'm not saying fantasy football is easy. It's not. But you cannot tell me that fantasy football is more difficult than fantasy baseball. I play both sports. I don't have an allegiance to either one. I love both. I play both. But, fantasy baseball is a grind, man. You got to put in months of preparation. Spring training is important. It helped me get Carlos Rodon a couple years ago. I was not on him until the spring, seeing the velocity and the changes. So there's a lot of things you can discover in the spring. And this is the first real full spring training that we've had in years. Now, there is the WBC that is going to cut into it a little bit, and some guys will not be at camp. But the spring can help you discover. And again, you're talking about, even if you're in a 12-team league, I mean, you're probably going to have 23 to 30 roster spots. And then the 15-team leagues and the minor leagues, I mean, you got to know a lot. I mean, it takes a lot of skill to win a fantasy baseball title. We've seen it, right? You can have an average player win a fantasy football league. We've all been in leagues where this guy's not that good. He's probably going to win a championship at some point. Things break right. He has a great draft, picks up a player off the waiver wire. That's not happening in fantasy baseball, man. You do not see bad players win fantasy baseball championships. You just don't. It's a 6-month season. You can't afford to take a week or two off from fab. You can't do it. Last year, say you took off the week where Taylor Ward was the big pickup. You lost a player that was a contributor most of the season. I know we had a couple of down periods, and Taylor Ward was a player I added in multiple leagues, but you can't take that time off. You can't afford to miss out. And, every little detail is important. So I know fantasy baseball is not as popular as it used to be, but I personally feel it's because people don't want to work hard. They just don't. Everyone wants the easy way out now. They want easy access. That's why people don't read anymore. They want a quick video. Fantasy baseball is a lot of work, trust me. But you know what? When you win a championship, it's really gratifying.
Make bets and follow your fantasy team while you buy, sell, and trade collectibles in real time. Only on Bettor Sports Network.
The Playbook, presented by FantasyAlarm.com, is now open on Bettor Sports Network with Justin Fensterman.
I did have imaginary friends. They were fun. Having an imaginary friend actually helped make me the broadcaster I am.
And Adam Ronis.
Did you have an imaginary friend when you were a kid?
No, I had real friends.
Take it away, boys.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Not if he tries to break up friendships, though. Then Ronis won't have any more friends here. But let me bring on one of my friends here. This guy I know, unlike what seems to be most of the crew here today on the Playbook, and probably all your Bettor fans. Most people aren't Fensty guys. That's okay. Someone's got to be the bad guy here. Say hello to the bad guy, say goodnight to the bad guy, whatever you want. But someone who's not a bad guy, one of my friends who I know has my back, Rick Kamla, Bettor Sports Live, coming up 7 p.m. Eastern on bettorsports.com. Rick Kamla, Lisa Ann will be going through all the night's action with you, and I'm sure talking about the craziness going on in NFL as well. What's going on, Rick? Good to see you.
Good to see you guys, too. So, Fensty, you're my guy, and I rock with you, with the exception of the Beastie Boys. The Beach Boys. That's where you and I part ways in the road, right? I want to crank Mastodon. I just got done, one of the nuggiest shows that I've got from the Disco Biscuits, man, super, super fast and awesome, old school. So that's where I've been, in the lab with the Disco Biscuits in my ears, man, and having a blast. But good to spend some time with you guys talking hoops. What jersey are you rocking there, Fensty? What do you got going on?
Rocking the old Jets Jonathan Vilma jersey.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yes,
that's awesome. 2004 G League champion Huntsville Flight. That's what I'm rocking here, old school, for you guys here today.
Wow. Rodas, what are you rocking there on your shirt? Just
a Madison Square Garden t-shirt, where the Garden was when the Garden. I got it from
30 for 30. I'm guessing when the Garden was even.
Yeah, I got it from Michael Rappaport, actually.
Yep, he produced that 30 for 30 there to remind Knicks fans that there were good times back in the 70s and then not really much since here. But, Rick, I got to ask you, man. I'm brought on different shows and people ask me, knowing I'm a Knicks fan, how excited I am about these Knicks, whether or not I believe in these Knicks. And unbiasedly, man, as good as they've played, and especially over the last couple of games as Jalen Brunson's been injured with this foot, I got to ask you, man, because I still, even against Cleveland and Philadelphia, can they beat either team? I think so, but nothing's a sure thing. And at the end of the day, I don't see the Knicks getting out of the first round in the playoffs. What about you?
Well, I'm probably going to go here with Amin El-Hassan tomorrow on NBA radio. It's a debate that's been cooking up, and we just haven't hit it yet on my show. And so here it is. Let's play it out with you guys right here. To me, it is a really cool way to look at the East. That little cluster of Philly, Cleveland, and New York. And I know Brooklyn's right there, but for the playoffs, I don't really invite them to this party. I think the lack of top-level star power is going to do them in. I have a hard hang-up. You guys know this. We've talked about it a lot. Let's put New York against Cleveland for a minute. Let's say that's the 4-5. And let's say Cleveland has home court advantage. Advantage Cleveland. They've got the best star in the series. They'll have home court advantage where they are amazing at home and they're very vulnerable on the road. So I would favor Cleveland in that. If New York could somehow get over them, and it doesn't look like they will be able to, and get home court advantage, to me that would balance it out a little bit. But I think Cleveland ultimately is going to get them in 7 games, Fensty. But it's kind of like Sack in the West. I see a team that can make a playoff run. I do. They have the optics of that. They have the statistics of that, right? But then you just look at who they're going to play, and it kind of comes down to matchups. New York and Philly to me would be very, very interesting. Like that would be very, very interesting. I'd love to see that play out. you've got bigs to throw it and beat. I don't think that's enough. But for some reason, I think the Donovan Mitchell factor looms large with a possible Knicks and Cavaliers series, guys. And I don't know if I'm one of the basketball gods. I'm like, yo, I'm with the Cavs. They went to get the guy. You guys over here, you didn't go get the guy. I want to go with the team that went to get the guy.
Do you have any concerns with Denver right now? They're obviously struggling. They've lost 4 in a row. They've had 3 of those games where they blew double-digit leads. Is this just a down period for them? Every team goes through it, or are there concerns that maybe they're a little vulnerable here?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. 4 in a row. To lose by 15 to Toronto, unacceptable. You lose at San Antonio, unacceptable. You get smoked at home by the Bulls, unacceptable. And then they had that 2-point loss to Brooklyn, which, it happens, right? But they've been taking losses at home. They have stopped defending. They gave up 125 last night to Toronto. Michael Malone is doing all the right stuff and trying to talk about we need somebody who's going to defend. Okay. So like he's already crying for help. It's literally like he's trying to hold a defensive intervention with his team. It hasn't worked. So like ultimately I see a long playoff run here, Adam. I see them going to the West Finals. Depending on what the Lakers look like with LeBron when he comes back. Let me see more a sack. If they continue on this ascent, I would put them in that discussion. But right now it looks like Denver and Phoenix to me are on a collision course. So overall, I'm not like stressing a whole lot about it, but I mean, you bring up a great point. They're not in a good way. I believe that there might be a little bit of boredom going on. I believe there might be a little bit of boredom going on with Boston, who's been maintaining this on a mission mentality all year and been so great all year. And, they are, I believe I worked on the stat, 15-12 in their last 27 games or something like that, which, isn't great. So I have concerns about both of these teams, but ultimately I think the teams that we've been watching for the totality of the season are going to rise. And I think both will go to at least the conference finals.
Hanging out with Rick Camlin, you can as well, and Lisa Ann at 7 p.m. Eastern for Bettor Sports Live every single week. Great show, great energy, very interactive as well. Ricky Props always on standby there. Team that we've been talking about a lot lately, the defending champs, the Golden State Warriors, starting to bubble up, get better a little bit, Rick. However, one question that I got to ask you, I don't know if you know this info or not, but what's up with Andrew Wiggins, man? I mean, we just got the news on Ja Morant for the Grizzlies that, the 8-game suspension that should be good to go by the 20th, but we haven't seen Andrew Wiggins in the last number of weeks here. Do you know at all what's going on with him? Is he okay?
No, and none of us do. No, I don't know if he's okay or not. Obviously, I hope he's okay. I hope everybody in his family is okay and happy and healthy and safe. I don't know what's going on, and that's okay, and that's actually the way it should be. This is a very private situation. People around him with the team know, but it's very tight-lipped, and again, that's the way it should be. I don't know, guys, what's going on with Andrew, other than just to send love out to him and his family on what they're dealing with right now. And so, with that said, I'll transition to basketball here. And I look at this game tonight. This is a really, really large regular season game for a dynastic team coming off of their 4th championship. Guys, the narrative about them on the road, okay? It's not even a narrative, right? It's just facts. Is they're not, because all of us chirp, 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 chirp. We've been chirping about it on NBA radio literally all year. Like a month into the season, it's like, we all check the stats. And so you just, okay, that's a stat I'm looking at this year. And it hasn't gotten any better. Tonight, they're at the Clippers. And no Wig, which is obviously a huge gaping hole for this team. They've got to play differently. They lack that dog defender. You remember how he defended Tatum in the finals last year, right? That was a huge difference maker for them. So they're missing him badly. Obviously, life before basketball. And we give all grace to Andrew for what he's going through right now. The basketball reality of it is, without Andrew Wiggins, they're making no noise. Okay. So I'm not clamoring for him to come back, just saying, take your time, do what you've got to do. And we'll see you next year if it's got to be that way. But without him, it's not going to work out.
You mentioned the Lakers briefly. They obviously improved at the trade deadline. They won 7 of 10. Right now, still in the playing game, but only 2 games behind the Clippers and the Warriors for 5 and 6. We know Anthony Davis is sitting out. They advised him not to play on back-to-backs. Still a couple weeks away from LeBron James, but do you feel like this team, if they get in, can make a run here?
I do. And it's coupled with vulnerability in the Western Conference. The Clippers are vulnerable to me. They always will be until they do anything. Hello, the Timberwolves, anyone? The Pelicans, they got to get Zion back. BI is literally a feather away from another stint. Dallas, I mean, this has been a wreck so far with Luka and Kyrie. So I can poke holes at the other guys. And OKC, like if they make the play-in tournament, they're throwing a parade down Central Avenue there, okay? All that kind of stuff. So Utah, Portland, I mean, come on, these teams aren't doing a damn thing. So the Lakers kind of start rising to the top a little bit, don't they? When you kind of look at some of the other guys around the conference. And I don't know about you guys. I've watched more Laker basketball than any other team this year. And you guys know I got the multiple TV thing and I'm watching all the games. But because of LeBron, the climb of Kareem, and now they're playing the Rocky theme, right? Right. The everything is set for him. So now he's going to come back a week before the playoffs. The team has totally got momentum going. And so it's the good stuff. But I've been watching this team all year. And the roller coaster of body language and intangibles for this team. They started out not great. Russ starting. Russ off the bench. Boom. Their intangibles were awesome. And then at the end of Russ, you remember the LeBron passing Kareem thing and the weird body language and that kind of thing. And so now we took another dip. And now, I mean, you guys watched the Pelicans game last night, right? The body language was insane for this team. It is a love fest. They're bounding off of each other. They can't wait, right? And so that's very important to me. They've got talent. They've got skill. And LeBron James is going to literally parachute into that. Yes, I think the Lakers could go on a long run.
Rick, we've been talking about end of season awards odds, and one of the closest ones, maybe even the closest one, it's been pretty much even. Although you look at the current odds, you see Malcolm Brogdon leading sixth man of the year at minus 145. Emmanuel Quickley, though, right on his heels, and he was actually the same odds for a bit, plus 110. Ultimately, Rick, I don't see it being a contest. I know that Quickley's done a good job this year being the Knicks' sixth man and being the Knicks' first player off the bench, filling in for Jalen Brunson recently. He's also done well, made a little bit of an impact when the Knicks were on their win streak. But if you look at the stats, and a lot of people tend to go towards the stats rather than game impact, Brogdon leads in a lot of categories. He's a better shooter, and the guy doesn't even need to start ever, and he still is so vital off the bench. To me, it's not even a question. Malcolm Brogdon is your sixth man. What say you?
I completely agree. I'm a guy that doesn't really put extra weight, or maybe I'll even kind of look at you a little differently if you've started a bunch of games as a bench player, right? And you have started a bunch of games and you've scored a bunch of points in those starter games, which throw your numbers off as a bench player, right? Because not everybody looks at your numbers as a starter and a bench player like us split-aholics do, right? Malcolm Brogdon has come off the bench every single game this year, right? Even in games where they've missed a guy and rest here and rest there, he comes off the bench every night. He had 20 the other night in that loss to Houston, where he was the second best player to Jaylen Brown. It is clearly Malcolm Brogdon's award. Guys, there was a spell there, and I complained about this on one of my shorts, the Ricky Prop shorts, is Quickley had doubled him in odds. Quickley was like at a minus 170, and he had drifted to like a plus 160. I'm like, why? How? Brogdon is legit the sixth man of the year, and it's really not that debatable. And Quickley just immediately bounded over him, right? So I didn't get that. And totally disagreed with that. And so here we are. And I think the betting way to go here is Malcolm Brogdon and the Celtics. I think that might have been some New York money hitting with the New York Knicks playing well and that kind of stuff. But I think the sensible pick here and the sensible bet here is Brogdon.
How about the MVP award? Because all of a sudden that is getting a little tight. Jokic was a heavy favorite. He's now plus money. He's plus 115 on DraftKings and Embiid's plus 140. Giannis is plus 300. So everyone kind of assumed that Jokic was winning in this award. We have heard people say, "Oh, he shouldn't win it 3 times in a row." Do you see him losing it now? Is Giannis worth the bet? Embiid, where do you think the MVP should be right now?
It is a wonderful question, Adam Ronis. I usually have. Well, I'll tell you a couple things because my mind goes into so many different directions. I've usually got not a put to bed, but usually pretty far down the line decision here with about 15 games to go, right? Maybe it's down to 2 guys. We've got 3 guys who are basically neck and neck and neck right now. Tatum is, if they could hit a 10-game heater and he starts averaging 40 points a game over that rip, okay, like he could get back into this thing, but he's on the fringe of it right now. The Jokic triple-double thing is very powerful to me. And I'd love to hear how weighty that is to you guys. A center's never done it. 3 guys in history have done it. And he hasn't done it yet, but dang it, if he maintains 10 assists per game and they're first in the West, like within spitting range of Boston or Milwaukee, it's tough to go against Jokic, but my heart wants Embiid to win. Legit, I want Joel Embiid to win this award. Because he's put so much on the court the last 3 years. Like, I would love to see him win that player championship. And so my sentimental vote would go to Embiid. My other side vote would go to Jokic. But guys, I'm very confused on it. And you can make a lot of great cases for Giannis. He's doing historically nutty statistical stuff. They're 20-2 in their last 22 games, best record in the league. I mean, come on, we got a 3-way dead heat going on right now. How much weight do you guys put into Jokic's triple-double in this conversation?
A lot, actually. I think it's very impressive. And also something that won't be considered is that with his ability to bring up the ball, it allows Jamal Murray to be preserved and play as more of an off guard. And that's something people won't see. That's something these voters won't consider. But it's an argument that I'm going to stick with because at this point, and I know the odds are getting closer, and Denver's kind of, I don't want to say sliding down or anything because they're not, but they've lost a few games. This guy deserves it. If the biggest thing against him is, well, he won it the last 2 years, that's a BS reason in my opinion.
Agreed.
Ron, what do you think?
I mean, to me, Giannis is the best player in the sport.
I agree there.
And Milwaukee is the number 1 seed now. And I know he's missed games. He's played 54 games, but you've seen what he's done the last 2 nights. So, I mean, if you're looking for value, there's some value there. With Embiid, I mean, look, Embiid is having an MVP season. I've always said Embiid's going to win an MVP. The key is is he going to be able to play a majority of the season where we're not penalizing him from his game? I mean, Embiid was played 54 games. What did I just say? Giannis was 51. Is that right?
Like the same, pretty much.
Yeah. Oh man. Okay.
Giannis has missed a bunch of games, man. Coach.
Yeah, but Embiid's played 54. I think Giannis was 51. I just said so. It's not that far off. I mean, look, Embiid's having a ridiculous year. I mean, he's averaging 33.4. It's close. I mean, I think it's the 4-game losing streak for Jokic. That's why.
I think
it's
people
night in, night out basis.
I think people are overreacting to that. Okay, like. Should this really be that big of a knock on Jokic? So
no,
not interrupt you guys. I just think, okay, they've lost 4 in a row. Boston's hit the skids at points this year. Milwaukee's hit the skids at points this year. I feel like we're overreacting to that 4-game skid a little bit.
But it goes back to what you were talking about with Quickly. It was all based on the Knicks winning streak. If you look at Quickly's numbers, they're not impressive, especially in the history of 6 men. They're not that good at all. So that's what this is all coming down to, recency bias. Philly's playing better lately. Milwaukee's playing great. Denver's not. And Quickly just had a couple good games, not even like this ridiculous stretch. It was just the Knicks were winning. They were getting attention. But Jokic is, never sits out. He's missed a handful of games. I think you would know better. There has to be people who are voting for this award who really don't want to vote Jokic for the 3rd straight year because of where it puts him in the history of basketball, correct?
There is that. I don't know how big that percentage of that faction is. I do. I'm sensing now that it was really kind of tilted towards Jokic. And I'm just noticing that, I mean, look, it's not even real. It's the players, man. And the narratives follow the players, but I mean, God bless. Giannis is having an absolute MVP masterpiece. Embiid is having an MVP masterpiece. Luka statistically is having an MVP masterpiece. And of course, Jokic, first triple-double ever by a center, third all-time by any player. It's a great MVP race right now. And I would like to see Embiid hit a heater here and go rip off 38 and 41 and 47 and 48 and 39 and one of those Lillard runs, right? And just grab everybody's attention and kind of swing it over to him. Because I think that would be really weighty at this point, this late in the game.
Okay, now this happened last year. Philly and Denver play Monday on NBA TV in Denver. You think that's going to hold a lot of weight?
It does to me.
To you?
I made a huge deal out of the game the Saturday afternoon where Embiid had 47 and blah, 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 and hit the absolute dagger right in Jokic's mug. How does that shit not matter? How does that not matter? I know you play 82 games, but how does head-to-head against that other guy not matter? To me, it matters a lot.
It's interesting what this award is brought. I mean, if the argument as well that was brought up by one of us regarding, well, who's the best player in the league? That went out the window when Russell Westbrook won the award a few years ago. James Harden as well. Neither one of them were the best player in the league, and they're winning an award.
Well, no. That was not the argument. The argument is Giannis is the best player in the league who is in the MVP conversation. You can't tell me that Giannis doesn't deserve MVP.
Oh, he does deserve it, but I think that Jokic is more deserving.
Well, LeBron James has been one of the best players in the NBA for years.
Sure.
He doesn't win the MVP every year.
Sure, I agree with that. And that's the way the award is judged in the last 10 years. It's different from what it was beforehand. They took more than just stats into account. Now I feel it's a lot stat-based. And with that, all three of them have been great. We know that. I think Jokic, the argument of he's won it the last 2 years should not be held against him here. He's having a phenomenal year, and his team is in first place. Rick, thank you so much for stopping by for your Bettor Sports Live coming up at 7 p.m. Eastern. Thank you so much for stopping by the Playbook. What's coming up on the show with you and Lisa?
We've got What's More Likely. We've got Ricky Props. We've got NFL free agency. We've got NCAA tournament. I've got obviously it laid out. I've got Oral Roberts as my Cinderella. I've got the Final Four here. We've got Creighton doing big things. We've got Xavier doing big things. And so we'll talk a lot of NCAA tournament as well. And we'll have a ball. And we'll see you guys next week in this window. And we'll see everybody tonight at 7 o'clock.
7 p.m. Eastern, bettorsports.com, Bettor Sports Live with Rick Kamla and Lisa Ann. Going to be a lot of fun. Make sure you check in. He's Adam Ronis. I'm Justin Fenster. We got some NBA to talk about. We're talking a little vroom vroom NASCAR here on the Playbook, here on BSN.
The Playbook with Fensty and Ronis, presented by FantasyAlarm.com. Monday Night Rants with Edward Rouse on Bettor Sports Network.
Do you believe in the Madden curse? Do you think that's a real thing?
I did. Now, I don't think it's as big of a deal anymore, but it was a real thing for a solid 10, 15 years.
Yeah, it was Sean Alexander, LaDainian Tomlinson, Peyton Hillis.
LT was never on the cover. I know that.
Was he not? I thought he was one. Okay, well, you do know all the covers of everything.
Yeah, okay. So if you want, I could do this real quick. So Garrison Hurst is the first official Madden cover athlete, 1999. 2000, I believe they still put John Madden on the cover. And then 2001 is where it all started. So 2001, you have Eddie George. 2002, Dante Culpepper. 2003, Marshall Falk. 04, Michael Vick. 05, Ray Lewis, first defensive player on the cover. Okay. 06, Donovan McNabb. 07, Sean Alexander. Okay. 08, Vince Young. 09, Brett Favre.
Okay.
10 is a trick one because it's
no way you know.
And Larry Fitzgerald. 11, Drew Brees. 12, Peyton Hillis. 13, Calvin Johnson, I believe so.
You're right.
14.
No way you know it.
14, also a trick question. I believe that's the Madden 25 cover, and it's Barry Sanders. Unless you got it for the new consoles, in which case Adrian Peterson
was
on the cover.
You're not cheating. You're not looking at...
Swear on my life. Swear on my life.
Okay. Keep on going.
15, you have Richard Sherman.
Okay.
16... hold on. 16 is Odell Beckham.
Okay.
16. 17, now this is the one I get mixed up because 17 and 18 are back-to-back Patriots.
They are.
17 I think, is Gronk, and 18 is Brady.
You are correct.
19 is Antonio Brown.
Correct.
20, Patrick Mahomes.
Oh my goodness.
21, Lamar Jackson. 22, Brady Mahomes. 23, John Madden. Yeah, dude, I'm a cover nerd when it comes to this stuff.
We now know, but that was really impressive. I don't know how.
Thank you.
That's literally 29 of them or something like that. Wow, that is. You did not miss a single one, and you even got the special editions where they had 2 people on the covers.
Monday Night Rants on Bettor Sports Network. The Playbook with Fensty and Ronis, presented by FantasyAlarm.com.
Betsy and Ronis back with you here on Bettor Sports Network, a program. No, we are out of here at 6:38 p.m. Eastern. Why I just said the exact time? Well, I don't know, but at 6:40 p.m. Eastern, you will get to tune in to Bettor Cast, especially with the first 4 matchups for the NCAA tournament. The big action begins tomorrow. We will have Pete Cole from FantasyAlarm.com stop by. And by the way, Roan, we're also going to have Mike the Mouth Masato stopping by. He's involved, very involved in the NFBC and high-stakes fantasy baseball drafts. It's funny because when we talk about ADP a lot, we use the NFBC's boards and we adjust the dates. And absolutely, this will be great because you have, and I know you'll be covering it, I'll be covering it on Friday, the NFBC draft, $5,000 to enter there. You need some money to enter the league that they're going to be playing in. So, Roan, we're going to be talking with Mike Masato tomorrow. And I was actually just thinking about this. You know me, man. You know that I want to put on the best broadcast possible whenever I'm hosting, whether it's with you or anybody else. So you know that I'm very into knowing the pronunciations of players. And there are some that are more difficult than others. You could go back and listen to some highlights and you'll hear 2 different pronunciations. So I got to ask you, man, have you studied at all? And are you very confident that you'll know the pronunciations of pretty much every player that could be brought up in the NFBC draft on Friday night?
Yeah, maybe I might have a stumble over 1 or 2, but I think I should be okay. I cannot pronounce the guy from the Spurs. Sandro. That guy? Oh, I can't pronounce his name.
Mamushvili, yes.
Yeah, I was even looking at it. They have the pronunciation on.
Well, you don't have to worry about that for Friday for baseball.
Well, no, I was going to put him in my video, and I was like, I can't. So I'm just going to skip it.
Just because he couldn't pronounce his name?
Yeah. Full disclosure. I mean, I was like, you know what? I don't know. Whatever. Because Bassie's out, right? So
yes. Oh,
I'm
man.
like this. Even looking at it, man, like it's impossible. I'm like, okay, here it is on let's see, where is it? Basketball Reference, okay? It says Mamu Kalashvili.
Yes.
That's right. So imagine I'd have to I want to do a video and I don't want to be like Mamu Kalashvili. I mean, look, maybe I'll get it. It took me a couple of years to get Antetokounmpo, which people say I say pretty good now, so
I put Ochai Abaji in my video the other day.
I would. That's not as bad as this dude.
Yeah, it is one of the hardest names.
Yeah, I was like, you know what? I'll find someone else.
That's amazing, right there. You didn't put him in because you.
I mean, dude, is he a good play tonight? I mean, I guess.
I mean, you've got most of the Spurs front court out. Baskin's out. Sohan's out. Yeah.
I mean, but the thing is okay. He played 21 minutes yesterday, 7 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists. So he's like min. So I guess he is. Yeah,
that's funny.
So if you need a value play, there you go. Sandro M.
Sandro M.
I'm the Spurs.
So let's flip it back to baseball. So that's a basketball player. Do you feel more confident that you will be able to properly pronounce every player that could be brought up?
Yeah, I'm trying to.
Really? Okay.
Why? So, who's one that has you flummoxed?
Well, let me ask you this here. Okay, so let me ask you this. I don't whatever that word means. Let me ask you this because all right, here's one for me, right? And this Esteury Ruiz.
Ruiz.
But see, people are saying Esteury, but it's really Esteury Ruiz.
People know who I'm talking about.
I get that, but so my thing with you is if you are that confident that you can get all those pronunciations right, what if tomorrow we put you to the test and I come up with 10 player names and we'll put them on the screen for you to see and you'll have to pronounce them correctly. If I gave you 10 tomorrow, how many do you predict that you'd get right out of that 10? You think you'd nail all 10?
Nah, see, you're digging deep. You're going to get guys that aren't even being drafted probably.
No, but that's the thing. I won't dig that deep.
I mean,
in reality, I want to help you. I want to make sure you sound like
they're going to draft 450 players in that league.
That's it?
30 rounds, 15 teams. What do you mean that's it? It's
Okay.
more than your preschool league.
But they're not. Hey, leave my preschool league out of this. All right, so I will take a look at some boards and I will come up with 10 names and we'll see if you can pronounce them properly and see if you can get at least 80% on the deal. What do you think of that game tomorrow? Help you out a little bit.
You're probably going to get me like on some technicality.
I mean, that's not my problem. If you get the pronunciation,
you're trying to make me look bad.
I'm not. See, here's the deal. It's funny you say that because when I was talking about this with Adam Bernard, we actually didn't want to make you look bad. So we're giving you 24-hour notice. And I feel like that's very fair. So you could go, and I won't dig deep to the point where I know the player won't be drafted. If it's a possibility, then I'm going to put the name on the list. So you think that you'll get a perfect score?
I don't know. There might be one that might be tough.
Okay, so we're going to give you a 9 out of 10 here.
And some of them are like Luis Robert. Is it Robert? We've been going over this for a couple of years.
It's from everything.
Robert.
Yeah, it's Louis Robert. It's not even Luis. It's Louis Robert.
Yeah,
that's what. Yes, I've gone back and forth with some of our coworkers about this. So that one's out because that one I know for a fact. So that one.
All right, throw out Caber Ruiz. How about that?
You know what? I could have, but you pronounced it correctly. So now I will not put him as part of it.
I shouldn't have said
because
anything.
it's spelled Keybert, but it's pronounced K-Bear. Yeah, that's right. K-Bear, technically. Mm-hmm. So I will come up with 10 names. We'll play this game tomorrow. Stump the Ronus. That's what we're going to try to do. And maybe, hey, we're raising awareness for Ronus. He goes into that draft where he's going to be calling out all the names that are drafted. Boom. We, as a better fan base, might be able to make Adam Ronus better. Speaking of better, Ronus is one of the things that you're going to bet on tonight in the NBA. Joel Embiid over 31.5 points against a Jarrett Allen-less Cleveland, despite the fact that he doesn't have good history against Cleveland in the scoring department this year.
Yeah, I mean, I want to go over it, or maybe even points and assists, which sits at let's see, that's at 35.5. Yeah, I don't know why I don't bet Joel Embiid enough. The dude just crushes, and I just see these high totals, and I'm like, it's high total, but they've had some days of rest. I think not having Jarrett Allen helps. We saw Mobley get into foul trouble recently. Yeah, I mean, he faced the Cavs recently. What do you have? 31 in that game, I think. Hold on, let me see.
I don't think he hit 30. I could be wrong.
He was 9 of 21 from the field, 29 points, 14 rebounds, 5 assists. But it was 9 of 21 from the field. That was on February 15th. So he probably, had a busy Valentine's Day and it was a little tired. You know what I'm saying? So I can forgive him on that one. Then on November 30th, he played Cleveland. They got blown out. They lost by 28. He only played 29 minutes, 19 points, 6 assists. But
I bet the over on this, bro.
I don't worry about the history here. I also think he kind of senses the MVP award is in his grasp. And he's averaged 36.7 points this month. That's over 6 games. 21, 20, 22 shots the last 3. Yeah, I like the over, man. I don't know what's better, the points or the points and assists.
I'm doing just the points.
What?
I'm doing just the points.
Okay. It's juiced up a little bit depending on the book. I do like it, man. I feel like I should do it. I feel like this is a night where I really want to go over on a lot of stars, but I'm scared.
Right. Because especially when it looks too easy, and it's never that easy.
It's never easy. But I mean, Embiid is just...
He's on, the shot volume, no matter who's in, who's out, it all centers around him.
And I think if you lose an Embiid bet, you're like, okay, it was the right call. I'm not that upset. If he shoots poorly, All right, fine. He had a bad night. All right, let me see. You got it. It's minus 130 on Bet 365. That's the best juice I find. It's minus 140 on DK. It's 32.5 on FanDuel. 33.5 on FanDuel at minus 102. Jeez.
We
All right,
know
you know
where
what?
we're not betting it.
I'm going in on Embiid too.
Nice. So we're partners tonight in the points department. Anything else that you like betting wise tonight?
Yes. Wait, what? Oh, okay. Hold on. Third. All right. Yeah. This is going to be a interesting one. Not a name you probably expect from me, but it looks like Kyrie Irving is not going to play. So Josh Green over 26.5 points, rebounds, and assists. He's had 35 in each of the last two. Now he gets the Spurs, one of the worst defenses. They average 122 points allowed per game. He's taking shots, 15 and 16 shots the last two games, getting some boards, distributing. Josh Green over 26.5 PRAs.
I like that. I like that very much. A big time pace up spot. I mean, you're talking about both the big guards being out. And yeah, this is a name that we really don't talk about. So I might actually have to put a little bit on that, a little small betty on that one, Rome.
Let me see. I didn't see anything for Hardy yet. I mean, I guess
I haven't seen anything there for Hardy. I guess we're waiting on the final confirmation that Kyrie's going to be out.
I'm assuming Kyrie's out. He said it didn't look good. And is he officially listed as doubtful? I saw that he was unlikely to play.
No, he's not official. He's still questionable.
Oh, damn it.
And we had this, by the way, we had this before. We had this before.
Who's going to play? Yes, baby.
Well, why are you saying yes? Because I was getting ready to crush some Jabari Smith props. Now I don't want to anymore.
Problem now. I told you that the other day because I was.
Yeah, we had to start looking at him now. Because you're hearing,
I don't feel as good. I mean, I think he still can get there. It was 24.5 points, rebounds, right?
It was, I believe. Yes.
I don't know if I feel as good because
you can't.
Yeah,
you're going to be playing on the wing more. You can't.
I'll tell you. How about this one though from Houston? Kevin Porter over 11.5 rebounds and assists.
Ooh, I haven't looked at that one with him.
Yeah.
What are you thinking? You're seeing the trend?
Well, look at his usage. You look at the last three games. It should be a competitive game with no Anthony Davis. Lakers only favor, I think, by 3, right?
The Lakers, yes. By the way, I still considered taking them at the time it was actually 2.5. I still considered taking them with Anthony Davis sitting. I did not do it though.
So yeah, I'm thinking about Porter. The rebounds and assists.
Yeah, he's gone. Well, look at you. He's gone over this in 3 of his last 4.
Yeah, he's been, I know the Lakers defense has been better lately, but, I think he could get there.
What about Steph Curry over 11.5 rebounds, assists?
You could do anything with Curry, even his 27.5 points. I know he didn't get there the other night, but this should be a bounce back spot for him. I think Kawhi Leonard on the other side, points, rebounds is bad. I'm going to wait on that because it is a late game. To me, I haven't bet this yet. I want to bet Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Tatum, this looks like a bounce back spot here. I got to think the Celtics play well tonight with the way they've been playing. Jaylen Brown's 25.5. Zach LaVine, it's gone up to 28.5. I like his over 2.5 threes. Or DeRozan. I mean, this is a good spot for the Bulls. I mean, it's a high total.
I looked at the Bulls as well to see if there was anything there. I'm surprised you haven't said, by the way, for Wolves, Kyle Anderson with the assists again.
Yeah, you want to go back there again?
Something is stopping me. I don't know what it is, but
he's been an inconsistent player. I mean, the last 3, I mean, you just look at his game logs, man. He's coming off a triple double.
Right.
So he's got his last 4 games assists, 12, 11, 2, and 9. It's 4.5. It was 4.5 the other night. He's averaging, it's Boston.
That's my one problem with the Anderson. It's Boston,
Consistency. I mean, what's the rebound? What's the rebounds and assists?
I didn't see that, but that's not a bad.
Let me see that because he's been playing big minutes. His points and rebounds is only 17.5. And he's so inconsistent. Rebounds and assists is 11.5 at plus 105 on DK.
And I don't know if we got a final on this one, but Rudy Gobert may not play.
Yeah, we don't know yet on him.
That would 8-10 p.m. Eastern start. So
I want something on the Boston side for sure.
What if you went? I mean, no, we're not doing smart. We're not messing with that. Yeah, I guess the answer is, do you go Brown or do you go Tatum for points? I think that's where you're looking.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
probably Brown's a little lower at 25.5. He's played
Right.
very well.
Yeah, he's been good.
He's maybe my trepidation going in is I think the last 2 times I played his points, he's gone under. So
that's the opposite of what Road is.
It is a good spot though tonight. I gotta think Boston plays better, man. And Jaylen Brown's coming off a monster game.
Yeah, 25.5 points is the prop right now on DraftKings.
I mean, I think you need something on the Bulls side. They have a high implied total. DeRozan points and rebounds.
I mean, that's always safe. You know he's going to get inside. So
because Levine has the higher total. I do like Levine over 2.5 threes. It's a little juiced up if you want to parlay that. He's been on a heater, so I don't mind him. I think who else was I looking at?
DeRozan.
Yeah, DeRozan I think is not bad. Now every game doesn't start till 7:30, so we got some time here.
Right. The Bulls game that starts at 8:10.
No, I'm saying the first game of the slate today, 7:30. Sixers, Cavs, and Grizzlies Heat are 7:30. Then Kings Bulls at 8. Lakers Rockets. Like I said, Mavs. I like Green if Kyrie's out, and I'll probably look to Curry and Kawhi Leonard in the late game. I'm probably going to hold off on that.
I'm holding off on it for now, but the rebounds and assists, despite the matchup here against the Clippers, good defenders, it's still for Curry. He's been getting there, especially on the board side. And here's how I think of it. Let's say that Paul George switches on him a little bit. Okay, it's going to be harder for him to score. He'll be in pass mode more. That's the way I see it with him.
Yeah,
and hopefully,
I'm sensing a big game for Tatum tonight, man.
Then do it, man. Over 29.5. Go for it.
29.5 though now, right? Yeah.
Yeah. High number there. Well, Roan, we'll let you mull that over a little bit because right now we are going to bring on from fantasyalarm.com. It is not Matt Sells. He's on the road. So someone with us today here, Dan Malin, the real Dan Lanta on Twitter. Malin, what's going on? Welcome to the Playbook. I think, guys, Dan might be on mute here. So we'll have to see if Dan is on mute. It happens It happens a lot more than we think, Roan, even if we're 3 years into the pandemic there. Dan, can you hear us now? Okay, Dan can hear us. We cannot hear Dan. So we'll get with Dan here in just a few minutes. Anthony and Jared will work with them there. Oh, one more time, Dan. I think I just heard you. No, I did not. All right, 3 strikes. We will get back with Dan Malin there, Roan. For now, though, because we're going to talk with Dan about NASCAR. So,
real quick.
Yeah.
Porter's number went down to 10.5 for rebounds and assists.
Ooh.
That could be because Sengun's in, right?
Yeah, makes me want to bet it just a little bit more here, man. That's the thing. As soon as you said that with Sengun, it just completely took the air out of any prop that I would bet on Jabari Smith.
Let's see if Jabari's line moved. It was because I was looking earlier. I think his points rebounds was 24.5. It is 22.5 now.
Wow. Yeah, I'm still not. I don't know, man.
Didn't he play 2 of those games with Sengun?
I forgot. I thought maybe 1, and that was it.
All right, I'm gonna look that up.
Yeah, with Sengun, I mean, definitely.
Okay, last game Sengun sat, right?
Yes.
On the 13th against the Celtics. Then the 11th, Sengun played with Jabari. Jabari had 20 and 10 against the Bulls. Sengun played 33 minutes.
Interesting.
So maybe it's not as bad as we think.
Right. That's true. That is true. So you know what? Maybe are you going to go in on it?
I think I like the Porter one a little bit more.
I think so too. I'm with you there. So I mean, man, we could definitely look at Kevin Porter on the rebounds and assists.
And Jabari it was Indiana, and he played 47 minutes. He had 30 and 12. Sengun played that game. He only played 26 minutes. He had 4 fouls. He had 14, 8, and 3. So he did blow past this line 2 of 3 games with Sengun on the court.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true indeed. So let's see. We're going to try our luck again here. Dan Malin, you with us?
Yeah, sorry about that,
guys. Yes, there he is. Tony Rivers coming through right there along with Jared Moore, the People's Board Op. But Dan, welcome to the Playbook. First of all, this is the first time we're talking face-to-face since you pretty much owned my Royal Rumble pool, which Ronus thinks is fixed. But Dan Malin nearly swept, and it's impossible with all the props and prizes. Dan Maryland nearly swept the entire Women's Royal Rumble. Dan, I know you were at a concert that night. I'll just say this. As soon as I heard, "This is my brutality," I put my hands up and I go, this guy who's been bitching and moaning about getting number one, thinking it's rigged, he just won the Rumble. And boom, you won yourself over $300 that night.
I'll say this. Like, typically, I know that there's good omens with getting the number one, because typically WWE will just try to throw out wrestlers at number one and number two that can go a long time in a match. Like, you're talking 40 to 60 minutes in the Royal Rumble. So I didn't have much faith that, drawing number one was necessarily going to get me the winner. But I knew, like, if anything, they might have the shot at, like, claiming maybe most eliminations or longest time in the match. So as soon as you started Venmoing me money, I figured, like, my phone started vibrating and I was at a concert and I'm like, well, damn, I must be doing something right tonight.
You messaged me on Twitter. You're just like, don't tell me anything. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, I won't. But you're seeing these a lot of money going in. I've never, ever paid out that much to one person before in a Rumble. And you won props on the men's side, too. Yeah. Because you had Gunther, who also, because you had drawn number one on both. But for now, Dan, we've got the Bettor Health 400 coming up here, so we can all try to have as much money as you. Why don't you let us know, when it comes to strategy for DFS NASCAR, what drivers benefit the most from being in Atlanta for the real Dan Lanza?
Well, so Atlanta underwent a massive, I guess, repave or reconfiguration. So for the longest time, Atlanta was just a pretty standard 1.5 mile tri-oval. Basically what, a lot of people would call just a cookie cutter track. There are so many, 1.5 miles on the schedule that kind of resemble Atlanta, but Atlanta was unique because it had an older surface. And so tires were just generally, it was more of a tire strategy race and just how well you can manage them. Now it's not the case. It is still a 1.5 mile track, but they changed the banking. They elevated it from 24 degrees in the corners to 28. They narrowed those sections a little bit as well, went a little bit wider on the back stretch and the front stretch. Essentially what they did is they took a 1.5 mile track and they basically turned it into a super speedway like Daytona or Talladega. Now, we don't see the speeds that we see at those tracks because Daytona and Talladega are a mile longer than Atlanta, but we tend to see more drafting and pack racing. If you watch the Daytona 500, you'll see that they go around the track essentially in just one big group. The lead changes frequently. Drivers can move up and drop back basically at the snap of a finger. So, it still carries the characteristics that we can see one person lead a vast majority of these laps as we saw last year. But there is a little more chaos to it. You have to think about building lineup construction similar to, maybe targeting guys that are starting further back and not focusing so many on drivers that are starting in the top 5 or top 10. So for me personally, it's not my favorite kind of race for DFS, but it's really the kind of race that I'd rather be there in person for and just enjoy as a racing fan.
Who are some of the high-priced drivers that you like for the week?
I know we're probably going to talk about William Byron. Matt did warn me before I came on that get ready for Fensty to ask about William Byron.
Oh, I thought he was going to say something about me saying Byron.
But Byron's coming in with.
He didn't warn you about anything about me?
Not really. Mostly,
okay.
He did say just get ready to be asked about William Byron.
Okay.
But he's a huge talking point, especially for this race. He won this race a year ago. I think he had a pretty good run in the summer race when they came back to Atlanta, and also he's coming in with 2 consecutive wins at Vegas and Phoenix. So he really had a nice run on the West Coast swing, but. He carries win equity here. He's also won on Daytona previously. Hendrick Motorsports in general, they swept Atlanta last year with Byron winning the first race. Chase Elliott won the second race, and I'm curious to see if there's a little more leverage on Hendrick Motorsports this year or this weekend. That'll be Kyle Larson, William Byron, Alex Bowman. Hendrick Motorsports was dealt a pretty severe penalty for some equipment that they had to have removed from their cars in Phoenix. So drivers were docked heavily for points. Their crew chiefs are going to be suspended 4 races. Don't know if they're going to start serving those penalties this week, but William Byron jumps off the page, and Christopher Bell is going to be another one who had some very misleading results last year at Atlanta. For example, in the summer race, he was running in the top 10 for most of the race. But he spun in the final stage while he was running 6th, got into the grass, and then he lost a tire on pit road. And then in the summer race, I believe he finished 2nd, but then was penalized after a post-race tech inspection. So that dropped him outside the top 20. So William Byron and Christopher Bell. As it stands right now, we don't know the starting order, but those are two drivers that I'm really looking forward to possibly getting exposure to this weekend.
Dan Malin writes at fantasyalarm.com podcast as well, along with Matt Sells covering NASCAR here. Malin, one of the things I'm sure Sells, I was shocked he didn't tell you, is that Ronis loves a track that's thick and that has plenty of asphalt attached to it. So I don't know.
Plenty of curves.
Yes. So he did tell you what Ronis likes. What about any of the low value drivers that we should even look at and maybe even possibly bet with good odds?
If you want to bet, I was actually looking at sportsbook odds and the betting odds so far this year haven't been as fun as they were last year. You could really chase and land some long shot bets last year. I hit at least 2 or 3 bets that were 80 to 1 or longer last year. We're not getting that this year for the most part. Corey LaJoie is probably going to be, for one, a very good DFS value. And 2, if you're looking for a long shot bet, he might be the best bet to maybe go out and win. He finished 5th here a year ago, and he almost won the summer race before he got caught up in a wreck with, I want to say, about 7 or 8 laps left in the July race when they came here. He's a guy on a smaller team, so he's always going to be priced way down. On DK Sportsbook, he's about 50 to 1 to win right now. But he circles Daytona, Atlanta, and Talladega on his calendar every year. For a small team, he knows this is a kind of race that he can go out and win. He's a very good racer in the draft, as they'll call it. And he knows that, if he wants to get into the playoffs and maybe score wins, this type of racing at this kind of track now, it's probably going to be his best bet. So I think he's going to, if you're looking to bet 50 to 1, Corey LaJoie is a nice little piece to throw maybe a fifth of a unit on. But then you can also look at the Kaulig racing drivers like Justin Haley, AJ Allmendinger. Haley had a very good run here a year ago where he finished 11th in the first race. Not bad for a driver that I think is priced in the low 6K range. And then he finished 7th in the summer race as well. He won plenty of super speedway races at Talladega and Daytona in the Xfinity Series. I think in 2020, he won 3 of the 4 super speedway or drafting races. So Corey LaJoie and Justin Haley are going to stand out as 2 value plays for me.
Who do you think wins the race?
I'm going to say Christopher Bell, who I've already touched on. Pretty much what we saw last year is like there are value plays that can pay off, and you're going to want some in your lineup. If building DFS lineups, you're going to want to leave salary on the table. But I like the speed that Christopher Bell has shown so far this year. He's consistently run inside the top 10. Had a pretty good swing on the West Coast. Didn't necessarily get the finishes that he want. There were some late restarts that kind of cost him. But as I mentioned last year, he was competitive in this race. Just didn't get the finishes. As I mentioned, he had a disqualification after finishing 2nd. Ran inside the top 10 in the first race as well. So Christopher Bell, as of right now, is probably my pick to win.
Dan Malin, our little Rhea Ripley, give him a follow on Twitter at RealDanLanta. Follow all of his work at fantasyalarm.com and make sure you're listening to their podcast, him and Matt Sells. Matt Sells joins us every week. Dan Malin joining us today. Dan, thank you so much for stopping by.
Thanks for having me.
Dan Malin again from fantasyalarm.com. We'll catch up with Dan at another point there. Talk more NASCAR, definitely some more wrestling with him too. It's WrestleMania season, Roan. Get excited for that. You might even be able to bet on it, as scary as it is to say. Don't bet on it. Just
when
don't
is it?
do it. WrestleMania, I'd say we're probably about 3 weeks away at this point.
You don't know the exact date?
No, I forgot. It's a 2-night event now. I don't know.
You don't know when it is? What is
Dude, I can barely put on my socks in the morning, okay?
You're the biggest wrestling fan. You don't know the date of WrestleMania. That's pathetic.
It's not pathetic. You know what else?
April 1st and 2nd or 8th and 9th?
Yeah, well, guess what? Bettorcast coming up next year. Fairleigh Dickinson, Texas Southern. We thank our producers, Anthony Rivera, Tony Rivers, and the People's Board Op, Jared Moore, back with his family here on the Playbook on Bettor Sports Network. Bettorcast coming up next on the app, and you have Bettor Sports Live coming up on bettorsports.com. Good luck. Let's win.